Hey everybody, welcome to Upstairs to the Right Music channel. I am your host this Wednesday evening, Mike McWilliams. Thank you so much for taking the time to join in with us here. So glad to be here today. As always, Ben, welcome. Good evening to you. James, welcome in the house as always. Appreciate it. Let's kill the volume over there. We got that working. We've got everything set up. It's looking good. Well, how's everybody doing out there? While we wait for more people to join into the live stream here, I will talk about my goings back and forth. Hey, Mr. Watson in the house. Welcome. Thank you guys for always supporting this channel and showing up. Your time is a very valuable thing. And as I always start out by saying here, I appreciate you spending a little bit of your time with me. Whether you're going to watch this live right now or you're going to catch it in the rerun, either way, I really do appreciate it very, very much. I broke a tooth, so I'm having a little bit of a hard time talking. My tongue is a little thick, so you guys will have to bear with me until I get that repaired, have time to get that repaired. It's not a serious thing, but I know my days of eating hard candy are over. I learned that lesson this week. And maybe it's time not to bite into hard candy. So if I'm a little slurry tonight, then I guess it's my usual anyway. This week. Yeah, for a guy who really, has had a few choice words about Gibson and Epiphone, and tonight is going to be no exception. I still have a lot of love for Epiphones. Hey, Michael Watson chimes in and says, purchased Ants in the Pantry this afternoon. Can't wait to start listening to it tomorrow. Hey, Michael, thank you so much for supporting this channel. If you guys don't know, this channel puts out music. Hey, good evening to you, Frederick. Welcome. We have on bandcamp.com 2 albums, Asinoki and Ants in the Pantry. They're music that's released by this channel, Upstairs to the Right Music. It's the music part in that title, Upstairs to the Right Music. And if you want to support this channel, like Michael did, and very kindly so and greatly appreciated, go to Bandcamp, look up Asinoki, and buy one of those albums or a single that you may like. But either way, it supports this channel. And thank you so much for supporting this channel, guys, that way. And boy, you're going to love it. It's good music. I kid you not. There's something there for everybody. But this week, I have been looking at guitars, as I do. Fortunately and unfortunately, I need to find another hobby because it's guitars all the time. And that's not a healthy thing. But I've been looking at Squiers and Fenders and Epiphones. I purchased last week an Epiphone. I bought a P90 Gold Top, 56 P90 Gold Top. And that's on its way. It's in the mail from Japan. And today I bought another Epiphone. I don't want to stock up too much on Epiphones, but when I can get them at a great price, which I did in both these cases, then it's worthwhile to me. And I purchased a Epiphone Standard 60s from 2021 from 2021. Iced Tea Burst, which is my second favorite burst. I like a burst, but Iced Tea Burst I really like. I think that, and I don't think that this was a standard. I think the Standard 60s came out, correct me if I'm wrong out there, guys, in only 2 colors, much like the Standard 50s. And then, of course, different retailers had different ones done. And I think then later on, this Iced Tea Burst came around, something like that. But they don't show up very often. And I don't normally share what I buy things for, but I bought this one for $126. Now, I bought it from a small itty bitty shop in the middle of nowhere in Japan, sight unseen, but still, if you guys have any idea of the prices of those guitars, you know that this one, knock on wood, is in the condition that it's described as. Generally, Japanese retailers, when they put things up, they'll list everything almost to a fault, and they're kind of required to by law. But I think that's an astounding price for that guitar. And it got me thinking about the first subject for tonight that I want to talk about, and I'm going to call it buying wisely. Buying wisely. Now, this is a proverbial needle in a haystack. Don't want you guys to think that that's something that comes up very often with me, even with me, in perusing every day, buying and selling and things that I do. But bargains can be had. Now, it does help, of course, that I read Japanese. So my ability to expand my searches, especially in the Japanese used market, which I still consider to be one of the best used markets in the world right now. I think that that, of course, has expanded my opportunities, but opportunities are out there if you're looking. And it got me thinking about talking about buying wisely. I've hit on certain points before, and I will briefly touch upon them again tonight in this discussion. But I want to preface it all by talking about the current secondhand market. Now, for me to be able to get a deal like that on a guitar like that, some would say that that's an indicator of a market that is either one of two things. It's either stagnant or it's in fire sale mode. Now, I haven't talked about fire sale mode yet. Because there's stages to where I saw this going a year or more ago at this point. And we haven't reached the fire sale stage yet. Yet that is a stage that is coming. And you can see a little bit of that. I mentioned in my last live stream about the pedal market. Thank you, Ben. Yeah, stagnant. So between the two, stagnant or fire, I would say that we are in the stagnant phase of this market. I agree with Ben there that we are in the stagnant phase of this market. And what do we mean by that? We mean that, well, it's we're not going to say things aren't selling, but they're not brisk and robust, and things are sitting for a long time. That's well documented, and also we're starting to see prices getting back to what I consider, but I'm old school, so some out there may argue with this statement, but prices and the discounts that are, weekly now are knocking the prices down to what the secondary market really should be. And I've always said, again, touching on points that we've talked about before, but I will hit upon them briefly here. 60% was the normal buy-in of new in the used market. In other words, you could expect to pay the going into just the price of admission was a 60% discount, 40% discount on something that you bought new. 60% out there offering it for sale. The pandemic came along, and that threw this market, and certainly others, and a lot of different, threw markets into a tizzy. And one of the effects it had on the guitar market is that influx, again, of free money, and also guys who really didn't need it, who saw it as, their significant other said, "Yeah, go ahead, honey, go buy, go knock yourself out. I'm gonna go buy myself a this, that, or the other, and you can go buy yourself a guitar." And that's how that kind of worked out, and it created this inflated market. About a lot of people started buying guitars that I wouldn't have considered before, so they were new into this game, and they were buying expensive ones. And there was this mad rush. Now, inflation started rearing its ugly head. If inflation is the sign of a troubled market or a sick market, then deflation would be cancer, terminal cancer. So we didn't hit a deflationary event with all of that excess cash going. No, it causes what it normally does, like when you print a lot of money, it causes inflation. And that inflation, again, then hit the manufacturers to where Epiphone had to begin raising their prices. A lot of it was planned, but a lot of it were due to the inflation that was caused by that period of time. And a lot of people really started recently in the last year, started looking at their COVID stash of guitars and pedals and whatnot and saying, hey, I got to move this on because the cost of a gallon of milk is now this, the cost of a gallon of gas is now this. And things are not flowing so well in the cash thing. Now, credit is another thing. Credit hasn't really been hit, at least in the Western countries, it's so bad. There are a lot of delinquencies, but you can still buy gear on credit. Now, the secondary market always was a cash market really anyway too. And the advent of Reverb allowing people to buy secondary gear using their credit cards is usually something that in the past was frowned upon. Generally, in the secondary market, people like to do cash, but here we are. Now, the fees that came about by that convenience put an onerous addition to the cost of the secondary market because you got to pay fees on that stuff, taxes and processing fees, reverb fees. And then one of the other markets that were hit was the shipping market. Cost of shipping went up, so the cost of shipping that guitar also went up. And so when you're buying something secondhand, you're hit with the fees plus the shipping. And that began to make the secondary, another one of the things that made the secondary market not such an attractive thing. Now you have this huge group of people who are selling their stuff, the regular folks, regular guys, the good old boys. But then you have this new group as well who are selling their excess that they got with their free money. Not in every case, but a lot of it. Coupled with the fees, the increase in cost of shipping, and all those things. And it's contributed to a stagnant market. Because, until at 60% of new plus the fees, that's a barely an attractive offer with the inflation being fees and being what it is. 60% off new, of course, paying cash in a shop or with a guy on the street corner, or you meet at the Chuck E. Cheese on the corner. For you Americans out there, know that reference. Then that makes sense because there's no shipping, there's no middleman fees, there's none of that. So in order for that market to stabilize, a couple of things have to happen there, obviously. Now, what does this have to do with buying wisely? First thing, cash is king. I think is one of the big takeaways that you can take out of that. Second thing is that really at a certain price point, always keep this in mind. It's something that I keep in mind. I know my range of what I'll spend on a used guitar out of Japan. I know my personal sweet spot, something that I can take in that if I can get at that price, including all the fees that I have to pay, the shipping and the VAT, I still know that that's something that I can move and eke out a pretty reasonable profit on. However, um, at a certain price point with me, as it should be with you, there are there is a point where the diminishing returns um, become really disappearing returns. And what do I mean by that? The diminishing return, at a certain point, inflection point, the diminishing returns really become the disintegrated value or wealth is what I'm trying to say in that unit. And we see that when these guys have been buying these custom shops and then they're trying to sell them and they're finding out that they're taking anywhere between a two to 3,000, in some cases $4,000 hit on those guitars. So the market has determined, the secondary market has determined a value on, for example, in this case, a custom shop Les Paul from Gibson. And yet still there are individuals who are buying them at the new price. And when they put it out there and they're not seasoned and they don't know, or they are seasoned and they do know, but they are in a position where they are being unrealistic, then you have the situation that we have right now, a stagnant market again. So all of these factors, all these points point towards why it's a stagnant market. Now, it's not a fire sale. What's a fire sale? A fire sale is when that owner of that Gibson Les Paul custom shop model is selling his at below 50%. Anything below 50% is a fire sale. I got a sports shop down the street here. I've seen one owner of it. It was an ASIC shop, and then another sports conglomerate bought it, and now they're going out of business. They've got the courting. I told you guys, courting is the Dutch word for discount. They've got the 50% courting signs up. And they are in fire sale mode because they're going out of business. We haven't seen that. So will we see it? It is a stage. Do I think the fire sales are going to be coming? Yeah, with some cats, like I said, it just depends upon how desperate your situation is. Now, this is a shop. I only buy from shops. I don't buy from individuals. I buy from Japanese shops. I buy from Japanese shops because, again, they're regulated by the laws over there to check the instrument and give a report on its condition. The Japanese reports, even on the used pages, are very thorough. They'll tell you how much of the truss rod's been played out, if it's played out or not. They'll tell you the percentage of the fretboard in terms of the frets, how worn they are, 70, 80, 90%, 100% brand new. They'll let you know. And they give very detailed descriptions. So for me, in dealing with these guys and the professional approach that they put towards every instrument that comes through their door that they decide to buy, oh, this tooth is killing me. Then there's an added value there. But if they're letting this model go on sale at this price, then it's not a fire sale, but you can feel the flames. You can feel the heat. And that's a shop. Now, they got a lot of stuff that comes in and they got to move it. And like I said, if you're there on the right day, you can get yourself a deal. But still, in regular times, this would not occur. This would not occur. So I am seeing signs, some signs out there, of fire sales here and there, and those are the ones that I'm looking for. I'm looking for fire sales, so I should know. You know, right now in buying mode, fire sales are my bread and butter. But to report out there honestly, I'm not seeing a great deal of those. But I am seeing a very stagnant market, very stagnant. So the two takeaways from that are factor in the shipping and the fees. Keep in the back of your mind that a certain price point, diminishing returns are going to equal disappearing returns. In other words, there are less expensive models out there that'll probably give you more bang for your buck, I guess is another way of looking at that. That if you do have to turn around and sell, you will not be facing such a ponderous discount as a guy who bought a Les Paul Gibson custom shop for new, especially if he had it done to his specific taste. Because you got to find somebody who likes screaming, pink Les Paul with purple binding. So that may be a problem, but that's a separate subject. But speaking of Gibson, this is what happens when lunatics run the asylum is tonight's title, and other Gibson news. I was perusing YouTube, as I do, and I like to watch Phil McKnight in his channel because I respect him. Like I told you, probably the person you see on camera, I'm willing to bet in his case is the person that you're going to meet in person. And unless he's having a really bad day. And I gravitate towards cats like that. And in the music, I watch a lot of different YouTube channels, a lot of different people, males and females. But I've noticed that all of them I gravitate towards are people that I think are solid. They're solid people. So if they have an opinion or they're talking about a subject, then I will listen. And I sat there and watched Phil McKnight struggle for reasons to talk about his growing disdain for Gibson in his last live stream. And I decided to pound in on that, jump in on that beat on myself, because I've been thinking about the Gibson guys, and I've been thinking about the Gibson company, and I have no interest in purchasing Gibsons for my business, for myself. It's not an object that I would buy because it's not an object that moves for the reasons that I just discussed before. And especially in a stagnant market. No, I have no interest in it. And will I buy a Gibson again in the future? I've owned several Gibsons in the past, several. Quite an amazing thing. But would I purchase another one looking forward? No, I would not. I wouldn't, because and Epiphones, I'll buy them used in the secondhand market, but I won't buy them new. See, I got a big problem with the Gibson company because I don't like those guys. When I was working in Japan, I was working with an outfit called ACTV. And a guy named Dan who ran that. And he later on became the president of Fox Japan. But during the time that I was producing content for Japanese TV with ACTV, during that time, before he went on to Fox and Fox bought him out and brought him in, we got an opportunity to deal with the WWE. I've told you guys this before, how I've met several WWE wrestlers over the course of a few days. When the WWE suits showed up, I'm not talking about the wrestlers, the talent. I'm talking about the suits. These were the slimiest guys. They were. It's. You ever see that movie? God, what's that movie? The story that tells the story of the character's name is Patrick Bateman, and he's a really psychotic, businessman back in the '80s. I can't remember the name of the movie. Christian Bale plays Patrick Bateman. If you guys know that movie I'm talking about, and there's that slicked hair back, cheap suit, but looks cheap, but it's expensive. And just slimy, sneering Ivy League, manner that I just did not like. Now, it doesn't surprise now, the WWE with Vince McMahon, man, is in a lot of trouble, as you guys may or may not know. For a lot of stuff, some of the things that I was talking with Stacy Keibler, that she was telling me about, and when we were just talking, sitting and talking. So that didn't come to a surprise to me at all. But those guys, and these Gibson guys, these Silicon Valley types, have really done more damage to the Gibson brand than I think that they really have grasped with the creative musician. The devaluation, the race to the bottom with everything, with music, with art in general. But even with editing, like YouTube, everybody, if you don't know how to do your own editing, then you're going to try to find an editor. And of course, then you're going to say, hey, I have to do this every week. I need to get, or twice or whatever, every day. In some cases, I need to find an editor the cheapest is fast and cheap, fast and cheap. That's what everybody wants these days. There's a price to pay for that. And this race to the bottom, this devaluation, this cheapness of art is no more so obvious than in the Silicon Valley types that are running Gibson right now. Everybody says, oh, the president of Gibson, he's a guitar guy. Well, I noticed that old Cesar, again, I'll point out, he had two directions in terms of occupation to go. And he sure didn't choose the poor starving musician route now, did he? So there's that. The arts for art's sake. The regular folks. But, that's a choice. That's a personal choice. And that's, one man's ceiling is another man's floor. But still in all, that love, that supposed love for guitar sure is not coming through. As a matter of fact, it's like, I'll put $1 in the jar, but in Star Wars, see, every time I mention Star Wars, I got to put $1 in the jar. But, it's as if, you thought that Cesar was Palpatine, Senator Palpatine, but he ended up being the Emperor. He did the old switcheroo on you. The riding on the fumes of the past I've talked about before with Gibson. Their hokey marketing, their clumsy public discourse, I'm talking about Mark Agnesi and play authentic. Their approach to the artist editions, I swear, that's That's all they seem to have. These that's their original thought. Hey, let's put out more artist editions, like the Jimmy Page double neck. Or they're working with Brian May now, which I don't know, if Brian at BMG, Brian May Guitars, I don't know if you want to get hooked up with these guys, especially when I go through some of these other things that they're up to. But another a double neck, Jimmy Page, and this is the first of many signature editions that are coming out. I mean, again, riding on the fumes of the past. What are they going to do when old Jimmy kicks the bucket? They're going to do a hologram, show of him in the London shop, the London garage. Maybe he'll be the door greeter like at Walmart, the hologram of Jimmy Page. Dig that. You got Hendrix in the bathroom, handing out fresh towels. Because that's where it's going. Nothing has to do with anything that it's supposed to anymore. It's a race to the bottom. And they're riding on the fumes of these signature models. Shit, they're giving the signature model out to everybody. Seriously. And when the YouTube guys started getting their signature models, I was like, holy moly, we've really gone far from where we started, haven't we? Ben Allmark. They be riding the way they be riding the way. It's like pirate talk. They be riding the waves of the past long after we're gone. It's their gold mine. Yeah, dig that. They will be. I got you, man. Mickey Newman in the house. Absolutely adore a good Gibson Les Paul, but can't see me ever buying another one. See, how did Phil McKnight put it? He says, I love Gibson guitars, but I got problems with Gibson the company. There's a way you got to kind of start looking at it like that. But buying new from them, either an Epiphone or a Gibson Les Paul, is supporting that company. So how now, brown cow? What do you do there? I knew Ben was a pirate. I knew it too. Listen up, mateys. And yeah, and now they're pivoting towards, with these garages opening up in Tokyo and London. Paris will be next. Again, these guys don't have an original thought in their heads. They really don't. They honestly don't. See, the economy in Japan is not so great right now. Inflation is very high, but wages are stagnant. And the government right now has a 22% approval rating. So, of the Japanese public, they're not going to be rushing to buy these Gibsons at the garage at the moment. Things change. Everything must change. Nothing stays the same, they say. But for right now, it's a hell of a time to open up the garage. If that was your hopes. Now, it's becoming a soulless luxury brand. They've pivoted towards becoming a soulless. How you can be Gibson guitars and be soulless, I don't know how they did it. But they sucked all the life out of that brand by their shenanigans, their actions. And it's become, and pivoting towards a luxury brand is a soulless luxury brand. Now, what is a luxury brand? Well, a luxury good is a good for which demand increases as incomes rise. So if you have diminishing incomes, then that luxury brand is going to fall off. People aren't going to be buying it. Again, a gallon of milk, a gallon of gas, or 4.5 liters of gas. So really, that pivot towards being a luxury brand may be a little ill-timed. Now, they have a track history of buying out companies and shelving their products. I read a story about a guy who designed a wonderful acoustic guitar that was modular in design. Gibson came in and said, hey, we like your idea there, buddy. We want to partner up with you. And we want to put this out on the market and let everybody know about this great innovation in acoustic guitar building. He said, awesome. I've been working on this all my life, thinking about it, and for you guys to come around and want to back it up, it's great. They said, awesome, sign here. They bought them out and they shelved the project. You'll never see or hear from it again. Unless down the line, 20, 30 years from now, the new Dick CEO comes along and says, not new Dick, a Dick, I guess it's unfair. But some Dick CEO comes on and says, hey, we got this whole thing. We want to bring this out, and do something with this. Everybody who had anything to do with it is long dead, as was pointed out there. So pivoting towards luxury goods, buying out companies. Now this other one was the one that Phil McKnight was what got him kind of riled up and upset, I think, because he knows the people involved personally. So when you're talking about your friends, it's a whole different thing than when you're reading a newspaper article, But there's a company called Zither that designs wood guitar stands that Gibson approached and said, hey, we want to have you do something for our opening of our London garage. So they put something together. Gibson looked at design and redesigned it and put out their own Gibson version of this stand. That's, it's a trademark stand with a trademark on it. But you see, when you're a small mom and pop company, as Phil McKnight was pointing out, and by the way, this is across the board, whether you're golf clubs or whatever, when you're a small mom and pop company, it is very, very difficult to fight big companies because of the legal fees involved. You have to have somebody like Elon Musk to step in and say, hey, I'll pay your legal fees, like he did for that actress, again, another dollar for the jar in that Star Wars that got fired, Gina Carano. And you need that. If you don't have that, then you're it's not a David and Goliath situation. David defeated Goliath. It's actually like a Goliath and the other, folks before David showed up. It was not the same story. They got smushed. And then Mark Agnesi, so this is all a titter that, the guy over at Zither says, hey, what's up with that, Gibson? And Mark Agnesi gets on and says, well, it's a Gibson branded Zither, because Zither is the name of the stand. No, it's not. It's a ripoff copy from Gibson. And the fact that the brand ambassador, Mr. Agnesi, the Michael Kelso of the guitar world, and I know Mark. I dealt with him at West LA Music when he worked there. I've known him from back in the day. But he just keeps putting his foot in his mouth, and it's like, wow, really? You're the brand? You didn't know this was going on? What's up with that, Mark? See, I don't care. I know why Phil was struggling talking about it, having difficulty discussing this, because he has relationships with these people. They're never going to be coming out with a Mike McWim signature motto, so I don't care. And I'll praise them, and I have in the past when they've done good. Fortunately, those moments are far and few in between. But in these cases that I've outlined, these shenanigans, it just sucks away the respect that people have for that company. And people are aware of these things. Ben Allmark, Amazon does the exact same thing. Copies popular item designs, the next thing you know, the only product of said item ever available is the Amazon branded one. No rules apply to these MFers. Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's not just in the guitar, it's out there as well. And you small mom and pop brand can call up Walmart and say, hey, what's up with that? But guess what? Here's our law department, talk to them. And by the way, they're billing at $2,000 an hour. So good luck with that. Good luck with that. Mickey Newman. I've lost all respect for Mark. Yeah, again, I know Mark Agnesi, guys. I know him. I knew him back in the day. There's two Marks working at West LA Music, Mark Spiewak and Mark Agnesi. I did a lot of business with Mark Spiewak because I was buying stuff for when I was doing gigs in Japan. I was also buying gear from the States and other stuff, decorations and stuff, and sending it over to Japan to the clubs because club managers trusted me to do that. That's kind of how I got started into moving things. But I knew Mark Agnesi very well, very well. And he's one of them now, Mickey. Yeah, Ben. A man is working in guitar shops his whole life. He didn't make it as a musician in the making it as we define. And he's got a wife, he's got the bills piling up, and he was well known because of the stuff that he was doing over at Norm's, reviewing guitars, Guitar Monday, Guitar Tuesday, Guitar, if you've seen those YouTube videos of him. And he saw this opportunity from Gibson as to being his ticket, his golden ticket. And I cannot begrudge him that. I will not begrudge a man that because you got to do what you got to do. But there, again, there's a price to pay to everything, boys and girls. And respect for him has diminished. My respect for him has diminished. And I knew him, He went for the pounds and sold out. Well, again, yeah, there's a price for selling out. That's why they call it selling out. Yep, so many have taken the bag. We have to ask ourselves if we were Mark or anybody else, and then Gibson came up to us, even me, if they call me up tomorrow and say, hey, you know what, Mike, we want to have you come over and be our brand ambassador, and we're going to pay you, $80,000 a year, and we're going to fly you around. You're going to get to meet all these really cool artists and go to all these live shows and go backstage and hang out with with the thing around your neck, and you would have to seriously sit back. Any man would. This comes down to, again, a character. I bring up that guy who had that country song that hit there in the States for a minute, and every record company in the world wanted to sign him, and he said, screw you. I'm not interested. Again, it comes down to, So we're not going to begrudge him that. He made a choice, but there was a price to pay for that. See, that $8,000 and that concert, those free concert tickets came with a loss of respect. And is that something that is respect really something you can put a price? Well, really, I can respect myself in my mansion. Well, can you? Really? Can you? Anyway, a little off topic there. Oh, but you got to have the right political views. There's this other aspect of it as well. And even if you do not have those views, you have to espouse them. How many people do we know espouse a particular, do as I say, not as I do kind of viewpoint? We're seeing that. The other thing that I'm enjoying this week, I'm just like, that scene in Thriller where Michael Jackson is sitting there eating the popcorn and he's just got this shit-eating grin on his face? That's how I feel this week looking at that mess with the Atlanta DA, Fannie Willis. Another example of a person who says, do as I say, not as I do. And it's a S show because we're watching somebody who's supposed to have higher moral standards than the rest of us because of their position, and they're failing miserably in every aspect of their life, and it's all coming to light. And so even when you have the right political views and you play along, that doesn't mean you're safe, too. You see that. Now another thing that Gibson is doing, and there's the last thing. It's not really. I can't put this in a black and white kind of thing because it has to do with DiMarzio and their patent on the term PAF and cream bobbined humbuckers. As you know, or may not know, DiMarzio owns the copyright for the term PAF. Only they can advertise this PAF, even though PAF is patent applied for, is what that stands for. And that's what the Gibson humbuckers, the original ones, at the point had stamped on the back of them, either with a sticker or eventually embossed. But, and the reason why there were white bobbin ones and black bobbin ones with the Gibson pickups back in the day is because, again, it was after the war and they were sourcing wherever they could get it from. Maybe this week they had some white ones. Maybe next week they had black ones. When they were making those pickups, they used what they had. And sometimes you'll get an older Les Paul that has one black and one white. I do believe Jimmy Page has double creams in his, something like that, stock. But DiMarzio saw an opportunity in the patent law to jump in and seize the right to use the term PAF and also to be the only ones to make cream-colored bobbins now. So that does not necessarily make them good guys, it just makes them an opportunist. But this is a patent that they've held for decades. And Gibson has come along and went to the patent office and said, look, this patent is illegal. We want you to pull this patent and take it away from them. Now, DiMarzio went to Gibson when they were, whenever this discussion regarding this came up, and said, hey, just pay us a royalty. And you can use the term PAF. You can make as many cream-colored bobbins as you like. But Gibson said, no, I'll tell you what, I think I'm going to try to destroy your patent so that. Now, people would say, well, that's great. It's unfair for DiMarzio to hold the patent on the term PAF. They didn't originate PAFs in the first place. And for them to dominate the right to make cream bobbins, which is a very popular one. I have cream bobbins right here. It's one of my favorite. It's actually my favorite color bobbin. When I had these made, I had them made with cream bobbins. Technically that's not legal. That's an illegal bobbin. Shh. Don't tell the cops. I got a baggie of illegal bobbins. But they hold that patent, and Gibson said, no, I got a better idea. We're going to try to take that away from you. Now, people say, well, that's good because everybody else can now have the right to do that if they win. Guess again. Bobbin crimes. So, guess again, because I think what they're going to do is once that gets struck, Gibson is going to turn around and go to the patent office and say, we originated the PF. If anybody has the right to have first dibs on the white cream, the cream bobbins and the term PF, it should be us. And they are trying to take that. That's the move there. The move isn't to free the intellectual property out there so anybody can benefit from it. No. Au contraire, mon frère. And that's not it. What they are up to is the same old shit that they're always up to. They're trying to take something, buy something out, or take something. They'll scream at you up and down, buy authentic when it comes to their shit, but they're very liberal with their love, let's just say, when it comes to wanting to obtain other people's stuff. Now, like I said, I'm not painting DiMarzio in being a hero here. Because, again, I think it was spurless for them to do that in the first place. It created this situation anyway. However, they did. And, hey, first dibs. Hey, I call dibs. No backsies. And so for Gibson to come along again after the fact, well, why didn't you guys do this in the first place? See what was going on with you guys. That all these headstock designs, all these body shapes design, all these things you didn't patent. And now 20, 30, 40 years after the fact, you want to try to rectify that? And you're not even the original. There's nobody there that walks through that door every day that was there from day one anymore. That's been not the case for a long time now. Right? The caretakers of Gibson are lousy from a public image standpoint, from a public opinion standpoint, and from a musician standpoint as well, because of their pivot towards being a luxury brand. By the way, guys, I'm seeing 19 people watching and only 9 likes. There's something wrong with the math there. Hit those likes, guys. Gotta hit those likes. Hit those likes for me, please. Por favor, s'il vous plaît. Onegashimasu. Please. Hit those likes. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, this is a good time to mention. If you like what you're hearing tonight, hit the subscription button. If you haven't joined this community, please do so. We would love to have you join in on the conversation. It is a lively one tonight. You know, again, as my mother always said, it's all, if it's rotten at the top, then what do you expect down at the bottom? What do you expect? And so the management there all the way around has an image, has a PR problem. They got an image problem. No, they don't care. I know they don't. Men like that are generally bereft of self-awareness. Let's put it that way. And the C-suite at Gibson has a self-awareness issue, a perception issue, and it's not a positive one. You can go out there and say our CEO loves guitars as much as you want to. You can show him dressing like a friggin' hippie as much as you want to. He's one of us. See, guys? He's not wearing a suit and tie. But what's underneath? What's going on beneath the skin? And their actions in the last... Now, they're inspired by a line. While it lasted at the prices that it was at, was one of the highlights of this new administration over at Gibson. And I will give them that. I had just bought one, again, like I said, today, standard 60s. And I'm looking forward to getting it and actually having, I've had, as you know, I'd like to compare it and see how it stood up with my 59. You know, I was saying, hey, you know, you don't have to buy this 59. You can buy one that's the standard 50s or standard 60s, and you're pretty much well there. That was just my walking the music store and kind of doing one of these kind of number things. But I finally get to see if that stands up. So they're to be commended for that. On the Gibson side of things, there's very few things that I can really commend them on, and I think that's an issue there. On the Epiphone side, there was commendable things, but that has been swept away by their price increases. So what do they got? What do they got? And the mantra of let's walk away from these guys, there's better alternatives out there, is growing and growing. And that's not a good thing. You want your core audience to be saying, hey, we need to be supporting this company and buying more. These are great guys. As opposed to, you know, F these assholes. See, that's not the messaging that you really want. And yet, that when you get cats out there who are starting to say that on YouTube and other places, then you got an issue. And there's really no getting around that other than just to fall on your sword and hand the keys over to somebody else. So this will continue. It'll go on, and the shenanigans will continue to pile up until they get tired of it and they've made their fortune and they can roll off into the sunset and do something else. And that's how that's going to go. This administration will not continue. The Henry J. administration did not continue. The buyout, what was that? The Norland administration didn't continue. Hell, the original one didn't. So we're up into the fourth iteration of Gibson at this point. Electrics. There'll be a fifth and a sixth. But the returns on that, they're just trying to build up the brand so they can sell it off for more than they bought in on. Of course, that's standard business. But I don't think that the fruits of this labor are going to pan out. I just don't. And I don't want them to, from a personal standpoint. So you can love Gibson guitars. You can strum them, love them, play them, look at them, talk about them. You don't have to love Gibson, the company. And you don't have to support them by buying a new Gibson. If you are in the market to buy secondhand market to buy Gibson, the secondhand market is booming for them. And if you've got $2,000 burning a hole in your pocket, you may be able to pick yourself up a pretty sweet one. Again, with the inflation in that market, that's actually $2,000. You may be a little shy there, and that's another problem for another discussion for another day. But yeah, this is what happens when lunatics run the asylum. I'm not gonna let that. I'm not gonna let that one go, because the whole play authentic messaging showed a deep lack of self-awareness, and the backlash and the lack of any kind of response from the backlash from the C-suite again demonstrates they didn't understand it. They're like, what? What are these peasants rebelling about now? Don't we? If they don't have bread, let them eat cake. So we have to consider these things. 2Ks where Epiphones are headed. Hell, headed, Palawan. They're already there. Palawan, they're already there. They're already there. Here in Europe. So, again, we don't have to support them by buying new Epiphones and new Gibsons. There's certainly out on the secondary market enough of them to satisfy anybody. I always encourage buying used anyway, because I would like to see a curbing of the production of new models. I think going through a semi-trailer of wood every shift at some of these factories is an abomination against nature in a lot of ways. And I don't want to be a part of that. I remember selling Epiphone standards at $199 brand new in 2009. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, yes, sir. My Epiphone Les Paul standard that my brother has, I gave my brother. I think it was a limited edition. I don't know, limited, something like that. I forget what it was called, but yeah, it wasn't that much. It was Singapore dollars. I bought it in because I bought it in Singapore, but yeah, that was a 2000. 15. They weren't that high. So they have crept up. They've didn't creep up, man. They crawled up the wall like Spider-Man with his ass on fire. So there's that, yeah. But again, inflation. What did I write here? I wrote something so small I can't even remember it. Well, I wrote a note there that I can't even read. I've got to improve my writing. That was along those lines regarding inflation in the market, I think is what I was trying to hit on there. But anyway, I don't like attacking people, and I feel that attacking Gibson, my disappointment in Mark Agnesi that I mentioned in this live stream, and all those cats over there, is not, again, a personal attack, but it is a observation bore from a standpoint that I just don't think that those guys have. Or if they had, they lost it. Or if they think that they have it, they don't. And I'm a small YouTube channel. Nobody's going to be knocking on my door, like I said, for a Mike McWilliams signature model. If they do, I hope it's Fender, because I would prefer it to be a Squier Telecaster, or a Fender Telecaster. But they don't. They're not hot on the signature trail like Gibson seems to be. Thank God. They have a few, but not as bad as Gibson. And again, I feel that I can, lay it out there. I'm not hesitating. I'm not, oh, this is tough. I hate to say this, guys. Oh, this is a tough one today. No, not a tough one for me at all. Mickey Newman. I'm off to the UK Guitar Show this Sunday. I expect it to be my last one, as I feel so out of touch with new gear prices and direction. Yeah, I'll be going to, as you guys know, again, the Vinendal Guitar Show on the 21st of March. And same with me, Mickey. I have the same set. Although I will be taking that 1978 Yamaha 335 with me for sure. And I probably will be taking one of the two Epiphones with me as well as a trade deal for something. I might see something and say, hey, I'll trade you this for that. Especially the one that I bought today, because at that price, it makes it really a good trade guitar. So I understand your feeling on that. But they're fun to go to. I just wish the lighting was better at the when I go Vinendal. It's so dark, man. You should bring your own flashlight. I said to one of the vendors, I said, man, it is awfully dim in here. Like energy saving. I'm like, my God. I really do need to bring a flashlight with me next time. All right, guys. I think we have talked about that subject, and I think I've made my feelings on it clear. I'm talking ear protection. Yeah, man. I'm taking ear protection with me too. I got it. It helped, man. Good timing with these guys at Loop giving me these earplugs because that's a perfect place to wear these. I can hear what people are saying, but I'm filtering out 20 dB of that noise floor with those. So, yeah, I might seriously do that. I'm glad you brought that up. That's not a bad idea. And I've got them. But since I'm going to be displaying this time, it won't be a quick running out, taking a look at running out there, looking around and coming home. I'll actually have to stay and sit around. And there's nothing more boring than sitting around at a trade show all day, guys, believe me. But I shall do so. So, yeah, the ear protection may be a necessary thing, man. Dig that. Thank you for that tip. I'm going to do that. Good timing, too. Um. Anyway, I think I've beaten that to death. I give my honest opinion. I will praise them when they do something praiseworthy. I just haven't seen it recently. And much like my rant about Spotify and their, their actions, this corporate malfeasance. But somebody pointed out this is in-stage capitalism. Last live stream. Was that you, Mickey? Pointed that out. It's in-stage capitalism. So what do you expect? And that's true. But those are my opinions on the subject. I'm not hemming and hawing, and I'm not scratching my neck on that subject. I'm pretty definitive on it, and it's lousy. And they can do better. We all can do better. Good night, guys. I am going to go to bed. It is now past midnight here in Amsterdam. Don't hear a lot of ambulances going by, so it's a relatively quiet night, I guess, in the big city. And I want to let you guys know I do enjoy you coming here and spending time with me. I want to thank everybody who supported this channel by buying the Asanoki 1 or 2 album. I want to thank everybody who had, by going to Bandcamp and looking up Asanoki and buying the album. One or the other or both. They're both good. If I do say so myself. Supporting this channel by subscribing to it. We are really trying to hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of this year. It's a tough haul. YouTube is getting tougher and tougher all the time. But I'm in it for the long haul. I think that we can do it. So if you're new and you're just checking this out and you like what we talked about, we got more of this. Take the time to hit the subscription button. And until the next one, guys, I don't think I'm going to be putting out any regular content this week. There'll be a rush of stuff. I was going to do the soldering thing, but I've kind of put that off because I want to do all that, the assembly of that thing all at once. So regular content is a little shallow on my channel this week. But we will be back here, God willing, again on Sunday for Sunday at Mike. So check that, guys, out. I will see you soon. And until the next one, God bless. Take care. See you guys later. Cheers.